Hey guys, we did not prepare for who was going to say hi to you first. So that was our awkward pause. We planned that. And so here we are. And so it's just Jess and I, Coach Christina today. And,
Jess.
woo! So just us girls. And before we started, we were talking about how this is good for us because it's kind of a sassy topic and we can go full send on girl sass today. So we are talking about fad diets. And I feel like if you've been here for at least like an episode, you probably know our feelings regarding fad diets. So this shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, but we're ready to kind of like take a dive. And we made a list of our enemies of the day. Well, see, I already gave it away.
We're going to piss some people off with this episode. And if you feel some type of way by listening to this episode, I encourage you to take a look inward and take a look at your diet and ask yourself, is this really serving me in short term and long term? Particularly long term health, not just like, hey, am I skinny? But like, hey, what am I gonna look like, feel like, be able to do when I am 70, 80, maybe 90 years old?
Well, I mean, even so, before we even dive into like the specific ones and things like that, some of the disclaimers, I suppose. Oh, one we didn't put on our list, right, is intermittent fasting, which I still talk to a lot of people about. So like,
that was on something that I searched just so that everybody knows. Before we got on, I was like, I don't really know any of the fad diets. So I Google searched.
Right.
And that came up. I was like, hey.
Right. And then we both were like, oh, yes, we do know about this stuff. But intermittent fasting is like one that comes up a lot. And I feel like, I don't know what I would necessarily call it a fad diet because it's not a diet, right? So diet would imply the foods you're choosing to eat, the things like it's more of a habit, I would say. And the thing is, there's like a lot of information out there about it's going to like change your life. You don't have to do anything else, just only eat during these hours. I see it on Pinterest all the time. While Cora makes me check Pinterest every morning to figure out what we're going to do with our hair. And then amongst 8-year-old hairstyles, it'll be like, do this quiz to figure out like how your, I don't know, like your DNA, like it's something stupid where it's like, how are you going to figure out my DNA? And they're like, what your
the
DNA
blood type
says.
Diet. That's one of them.
Right. Oh,
Anyways,
but this will be for like what your fasting window should be, right? And it's just like, okay, so the thing about all of this, right? And like I'll tell clients because they'll ask me, should I do intermittent fasting? And I'm like, well, if you can stick to the window and it makes you feel better about your day and still hit your numbers, whether we are maintaining, building, or in a deficit, if that window helps you feel confident about hitting our targets, cool. Have fun with it. It's not going to change anything else about your life. And they've done like, there's research to show that like, it is not in and of itself a habit that is life-changing. I accidentally intermittent fast, and have fallen into this routine over the course of many, many years. I don't like to eat after about 5, like 4, 5.
Yeah, you're like a early dinner girly.
Yeah. Like we feed our kids dinner super early because they're hungry as soon as they get home from school. And then I usually don't eat dinner with them because I'm busy cleaning up disasters and like things like that. So I've usually eaten something else beforehand too. And so, I have found for myself, yeah, it does help me usually have like my body will spike up if I do eat a late meal because like I'm still digesting. And so then the next morning it's like, what the hell? I'm up 2 pounds. But it's not because I actually like lost weight when I go back to eating the other way. It's because I'm not still digesting food. And like, so it can be very helpful for a lot of people, but it's one of those things where it's not necessarily the life-changing thing. But with all the diets we're about to dive into, the thing to consider, if for some reason you are the person who can survive on a carnivore diet for the rest of their lives and it brings you joy and your health is fine and you hit your body goals on it, cool, whatever. I'm happy for you, genuinely, if you can do it all the time. But what it really comes down to is with any of these diets, any of them, it's a caloric deficit that is allowing you to lose weight. It is not the fact that like vegetables were in fact the enemy. And because you're only eating, 8 ounces of steak per day, now you're losing. Well, that's because that only provides about 250 calories, for you to live off of. And so it all boils down to, this is why we have an attack, because we'll go into like, can you stick to it long-term? Most of these, no. Are they putting you into the deficit that you need? Right. And or are they helping you build muscle? Like things like that. And so the longevity, like Jess said, is the main aspect of all of these is, are you going to be able to do them for as long as you want to maintain those results? Because whatever you did to get your results is what you have to keep doing as long as you want those results.
Yeah. If you want to maintain. And like, when I think about the word diet, I've tried to shift my thought process of the word diet to just simply a way of eating. So like the way that I eat is a bodybuilder diet. I am not currently losing weight or in a caloric deficit, but that is the way in which I eat. Mm-hmm. Okay. Some other people like who are athletes and run, bodybuilders are athletes, but maybe a marathon runner would eat slightly different, different food choices, different meal timing. And like on that, intermittent fasting note, like if it works for your life situation. So for you, I know that you get up early, you like to get up early. I know that you also like do more of just like your physical activity earlier in the day. Right. Like that is the appropriate time for you to be fueling your body. Right. So it makes sense for you, and your life. Right. But if you have to get up and the morning is the only time that you can work out and you have a very like physical job and like that might not work for you. But Christina, you're right. Like it's, hey, if something is working for you and you're getting your body goals and health goals the way that you want it, then great. And it's sustainable for you. But a lot of these things, the concern is, what is the adherence level, short-term and long-term? Because sometimes we can be like, yeah, I'm going to stick to this like for 3 months solid. It's like, good, cool. What happens on month 3 and 2 days? What happens when you have a birthday? What happens when it's Christmas? What happens, right? Like you also want to think about your overall life and how these things can fit nicely into it. And so I think that that's like a big part of it, but a big part of, like you touched on the carnivore. So why don't we go hard into carnivore? Because then I pulled up PubMed articles because people are very strongly opinionated on this.
I'm getting
right. So right into it. But like they are very, very strongly opinionated, and yet they come to you or I or someone else and they say, I'm not willing to change anything, but I really need to change things. And you're going, pardon? Right. And it's the PubMed articles that I pulled up are interesting.
Well, because so like the Liver King guy, look at him, mm-hmm. said it worked. He goes with all the like zealots of it, right? Only do this, only do this. He was full of shit.
I was going to say he's probably lying.
Right. No, it was like drama, right? He said like, look at my results from like, buy the things that supplement your carnivore diet, only eat liver. I'm so cool. And then it was like, well, actually he was on a bunch of steroids and like different things to support his health. So as we launch into what PubMed has to say and what we have to say about it and things like that, it makes me think of like how we have to have integrity as coaches, right? We have certain limits for things that we like. I won't take people below certain fat levels. I won't have people do certain amounts of cardio, like things like that.
I won't put them into a fat loss phase if they're already consuming 1,200 calories and doing 7 days a week of cardio.
Right. So it makes me think of the words do no harm, right? Where I am not in the business of having somebody pay me any amount of money and then feeling responsible or having my name connected with bad decisions that are not related to longevity of results and your happy life and things like that, right? And carnivore is one of those things where and I've had to tell people this before, I do not feel like I could coach with integrity and tell somebody that I am cool with them erasing that amount of foods that are healthful and supportive and things like that and like be on board with it. I can't do it. It would make me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think if we talk about like keto versus carnivore, because people come sometimes like not confused, but just like make keto something that it's not. So keto, the ketogenic diet is a diet that is predominantly fat. It's like 80% fat intake, 10% or 15% protein, 5% carbohydrate, for example. And it was originally made or come up with whatever for individuals who have epilepsy. But there have been studies that show that, you know, the ketogenic diet is like negatively impacts nutritional needs for individuals. Sodium, electrolyte levels, like there's been research on that. And now carnivore actually takes that a step further. It's full-blown protein, no produce,
it's like
no carb, like, yeah, none. It basically eliminates all or almost all nutrition like that is derived from plants, anything like that. So no vitamins or minerals essentially coming from any other food source other than animal protein, which to me sounds absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm just going to put that out there. Like, at least keto, it's like, okay, you can have spinach. Like, I'm still not pro keto. It's not, but hey, it works for some individuals and that's great and cool. But they also have to be very aware of their supplementation when you choose to be following a ketogenic diet, because it impacts your nutritional needs. So carnivore just blows it out of the water in terms of like just disregard for all essential nutrients.
Well, and you know, I feel like a lot of the issue with it too is that, at least with the people that I've talked to about it, and like, and that's another important thing, right? Is the only reason I have strong feelings about any of these fad diets is because we talk to people who have tried them and where it caused some other issue, it didn't work out or whatever, right? And so it's because we get feedback from people who have gone down that path. And my issue with both, you know, even though they're different, but like kind of the same with the keto and the carnivore, because of the level of extremity where you have to cut out so much stuff and it's very specific what you can have, is that I feel like people end up with a lot of like junk sources. And then they're relying on that, you know, with the fat bombs and with like, you know, the sticks of butter and like different kind of stuff. And then I feel like it starts out as this one thing. I'm going to cut all that other processed food. I'm not going to eat these things and like blah, blah. But then all of a sudden, like as soon as they realize like, okay, well, that limits me to like 4 food selections. And then they try to make it more interesting to be like the things they used to have. It comes around to this circle of eating a lot of crap and like not even making the choices or introducing the weird supplements and like things like that. And it's like, but we could just go back to what we all know is better for you and having a balance of things like that and stuff. And so I completely agree that when it comes to keto, and like I pulled up some stuff on PubMed where like they talk about like the highlight of, if you're comparing the two, is that keto does emphasize an inclusion of plants.
Right.
And they still want you to keep that up for, you know, not just the micronutrients, but having some fiber in your life and like things like that. And, the thing that I always worry about is I just don't think that there's any decision that you should make outside of maybe like chemo for cancer. Yep. Chemo is going to make you feel terrible, but make you feel better. Yes. That's the thing. Keto and the keto flu, where you have to go through feeling terrible and your body has to go through this whole thing so that you can come to the other side. That just for me instantly says like, but why are we doing this? If there's other ways that we can go about it, maybe we should look at reframing our relationship with carbohydrates, with the foods that are heavy in them, with all of that kind of stuff. And we wouldn't have to go this very extreme route where now you can't ever go over to somebody's house to eat unless you
that makes it really difficult. Like I remember I was at a like conference or whatever. And one of the speakers who was there, he was practicing a ketogenic diet, and he was, but he was doing it in the way in which like you could quote unquote healthily do it. But like, it was a really big challenge for him to eat out, because if you actually overconsume when you're practicing the proper ketogenic diet, if you actually overconsume on protein, it kicks you out of ketosis. So it was really, it's quite restrictive, right? When you think about the flexibility or not flexibility of a certain diet, which we're talking about like, yeah, okay, like health, like overall health is really important, but so is adherence. And so a lot of the times when we see these individuals who have talked to us about doing the keto diet or trying the carnivore diet, first of all, they're not able to stick to it because of whatever events that happen in their life that they feel like they want to take part of. Like I had a friend who was doing keto, and it was like, she would make comments all the time. Oh, I wish I could have that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you can, because you're an adult and you can like choose. But if you are choosing a way of life, which is like a ketogenic diet, like that is a life choice. Same with like, if you're going to go vegetarian or vegan, which we've actually talked about. So refer back to that. But like, it's a way of life. So don't go sitting there saying, oh, I wish I could have fries or whatever. When, well, you can, but what happens is when these people struggle with adherence, it just flip-flops the absolute other way. And then they're now binging on, I don't know, cookies or whatever, something that has probably a good amount of fat in it, but also carbohydrate, right? And then of course their weight shoots up and they're inflamed and their digestion sucks. It's because you're going from 0 to 60 and then back to 0 again, and creating this cycle. So yeah, that's my deal. I was going to talk about like how we would bring somebody out of that, but like, that's not the purpose of this podcast. Like, I think that we are just like wanting to shed light on some of these dietary choices that are very fad or very in or very popular. We get a lot of questions on, and really asking or really like, I guess, asking you, hey, is this serving you? Is this actually going to be beneficial for you now? Can you stick to it? And how is that going to affect your health in the long term?
Right. And like a big question that I have if somebody brings that up, like, because I'll have clients that maybe we've been working together for a while, right? And I think a lot of people jump into these too, because they jump into it for the same reason that I looked on my perfectly fine iPhone and I went to apple.com today to be like, tell me about the iPhone. I wear a Garmin, and I was reading up all about the new Apple Watch. I'm like, do I need a new Apple Watch?
Look at it, all the fancy things it does.
And it's right. But it doesn't even do anything that's that different from my Apple Watch 8 that's sitting in my drawer, because now I wear a Garmin instead. But I was still like, maybe I need to ask Vic if I can buy an Apple Watch. Right. And I think there's something about it being shiny and new and different. And because we live in a world where there's a new iPhone every freaking year. And I was talking to somebody last night where they were like, what could they do differently with it? And I was like, well, you remember when phones were big and then they made them really small. And then we were all like, but wait, my phone's too small. And so now they're big again. And like, they're probably just going to keep doing this, like this hill, right? Just like we had Atkins a long time ago. Now we have different versions of that.
Weight Watchers is like Atkins.
There's
basically.
all like kind of stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is I want something different to focus on. But that when we program hop, whether it's, exercise, cue our last podcast episode, or if it's, your dietary choices, it doesn't give us a lot of opportunity to gain any ground. And that's why, I know the two of us, and I'm sure all of the coaches at Pro Physique and like most coaches who are worth their scruff, like they're choosing something that isn't going to be so impossible and it's pretty basic. And like that can come off really boring. Like, what do you mean you just want me to like manage things, right? That can be boring. So my big question when people bring it up, like, hey, what if I tried this? What if I did that? And I'll be like, why do you want to? Like,
yeah, I always ask questions like that in my check-ins. Like I had a client today who wants to compete. So slightly different from lifestyle, but she's like looking into it. She's never competed before. And we've been working together for a while, and she was like, hey, what if I add running this week? And I was like, okay, why? Like, I was like, literally, why? Like, absolutely. I'm not saying that running is bad. That's cool. That's great. You like Christina, you run. Running is fantastic. But like, and I explained to her, like, hey, if that's what we want to do, then that's cool. But that's actually very opposite of what you're wanting to do, right? So if you're looking for something to change or adjust or make quote unquote better, I always encourage my clients to be like, okay, well, like, let's look at what we're doing now. And if we're really struggling to hit protocol, but we feel like we need to change, maybe we just need to be better at what we're doing.
Right. And not go all the way to,
you don't need to be.
I'm doing like 20-minute walks at 3% incline. And then it's like, should I go run 6 miles all the time? It's like, wait,
Bob did that.
We don't need to do that.
10 out of 10, do not recommend. He injured himself. I love you.
That'll happen. I'm easing back into just 3 30-minute runs. And Vic's like, don't hurt yourself. Because I do it every time. I'll be like, you know what I should do this weekend? I'm just going to see how far I can run. And like, it's not good for you.
I'm going to see how much fat I can eat tomorrow. No, I'm kidding.
Right. I've done that. I did the 10,000 calorie challenge. It's on my YouTube. And
I didn't know that you had a YouTube. So now I'm going to go watch it.
I haven't uploaded like since I lived in Colorado because I have too many kids these days. And so I did it a lot when I first started competing, and I shared like a lot of my like foods and stuff. And then at one point I did the 10,000 calorie challenge. And let me tell you, donuts are where it's at. If you're doing that, like Krispy Kremes, they're like air and they're like 300 calories. And so you can slam a whole bunch of those. But like at one point towards the end of it, I had to eat like a Chipotle burrito and like a whole bunch of ice cream to try, because it was all I had left to try and get. I was like, this is a terrible idea. I felt terrible. But if you're bored and you want to watch that, yeah, it was a fad. Okay. So we beat up on our fat and protein based friends, which I mean, like,
we're done.
I probably should have put them at the end because everyone's already left because they're like, we know you guys don't like them. So
we have some good ones coming up.
Right. So the interesting one that I actually haven't talked to anybody who's done this one, which surprises me. And I wonder, I'm going to look at it again because I wonder if it's particularly price prohibitive, but this lumen that is all over the place for like, it gets a lot of social media ads and stuff like that. Actually, I had somebody ask me once if they should get one. And then I went into like explaining why it's not giving you the full picture, and it's, they're just trying to sell you something. So
anything that tells me, first of all, anything that is giving you an ad on YouTube for something gives me red flags. But I look up Lumen on Google, and the very first thing is the Lumen website. But Lumen, hack your metabolism. Anything that has the word hack, I'm like,
I was just about to say that. I was like, you know
Shut
what?
up. I'm so
pisses me off
sorry. I
as
totally
soon as
stole
I
your
go to
thunder.
this. No, 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 no. I'm glad you said it because I went to pull up the price for it and that instantly pisses me off. Hack your metabolism because, the thing that we're always talking about is that there is no hack, right? You can't hack your metabolism. It keeps you alive, man. There's no hacking it. They could have used the word understand. Anything else, but there's this like buzzword. And so they're like, God, they have a lot of pop-up ads. Oh, Jess, did you see how much it is?
It's like $350.
It is $300, which includes, that gets you your little device, includes 1 free month of membership, $19 per month afterwards.
Oh, okay. So it's like $300 for the thingy, but then you have to keep spending
Like $20 a month.
Yeah. To like
And
what?
okay, so here's what this thing like does, right?
Okay.
So you know how there's like, so people will go, I just have all the like paths I want to follow right now.
Let's talk
So
about what it is.
you can go into like a lab, like with people who actually do this kind of stuff with like figuring out what your body's actual BMR is, not the number that like your scale tells you, because it's probably wrong. But you go in and they have something similar where they strap it to your face and you breathe into it and then they can tell you what your body's doing, right? They measure the oxygen and like things like that. So what this claims to be doing is that you're going to breathe into it throughout the day. And then based off of the breakdown of what you expel, it's going to say, you know what, you're in fat burning mode right now, or you're in carbohydrate. Like here, it has the thing. It just like, it says you're mostly burning fat, 80% fat, 20% carbs. Now, the problem here, right, goes also to something else that isn't a fad diet, but it's like a fad habit of, oh my God, I just complete brain fart. Fasted cardio. Okay. I feel like this is kind of like the same. These are buddies, right? Where people say, I'm going to do fasted cardio because if I do that, my body is using fat during that training session. Thereby, I am burning more fat. Everything's better. I'm going to hit my goals. Well,
It doesn't work like that.
kinda. I mean, like, I guess where you're going, but not really.
Burning, and like that, isn't that the idea behind being in ketosis, is that your body starts to
Yes.
utilize fat as
Your main
like energy source.
Right.
Which,
yeah.
okay, that's fine, but that's unfortunately not the same as losing body fat. So
Right.
burning fat or burning carbohydrate is not the same thing as
Fat
losing
loss.
body fat.
Right. Exactly. And yes, it'll shift throughout the day depending on meals. If you just woke up, like
Activity.
things like that, just the same way that our cortisol levels have built in cycles with our circadian rhythm and like things like that. And so the idea is you can blow into this thing and then it's going to tell you what your next meal should consist of.
Oh,
right. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, that's what it said.
so
I'm reading about it too as we're
personalized
like walking through
nutrition
this.
plan with macro-based meal suggestions based off of what your breath says.
Yeah, and like to me, this sounds exceptionally restrictive. And like, who has time for that? Sorry, first of all, we touched on the validity of what this thing is, but like also who has time to be like, oh gosh, I only have rice in my fridge. I can't what?
I just went to their frequently asked questions.
Ooh, okay.
Number 2, does brushing my teeth affect my measurements?
Does it?
It says no. Mouthwash could.
Like changing your food or like your meal sources on the fly like that can be absolutely, and part of Lumen's thing is you also have to track, right? So now you also have to track what you're eating, and you absolutely need to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight on this thing. So regardless of if you breathe in and you are burning fat versus carbohydrate or what have you, you now still need to track your food. You also have to track and choose foods on the fly. And you still need to be in a calorie deficit, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It can be, I'm looking at some of the things and it's like, okay, well, like before and after a workout, it can give you insight as to what kind of fuel you require pre and post workout. Okay, sure. 1 to 2 hours after eating, it can show you how your body responds to certain foods. Cool. So can a blood glucose monitor. If you prick your thumb,
that I just,
right?
that you brought up, we could dive down that too, because I've got feelings about people wearing those as well.
Oh yeah.
And so I went to the frequently asked questions about this thing because I thought that was going to be pretty indicative of the issues people run into and like, what are they having people reach out about, right? And like you said, I mean, this is another thing where like, it's like intermittent fasting, where it's like, if you want to use this to kind of like understand what's going on, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is just a money grab and it's not going to change your life unless you are somebody like, okay, when people get a Whoop or an Aura ring or
Right.
like something like that. If you are somebody who's going to dive in to the feedback that you're getting and truly react to it to try and optimize it, cool, go going. If you're not going to do that, don't spend the money on it, right? Like, you don't need to. This, like, okay, so it's like in a perfect world, you would see all of the lumen levels throughout the day. So they're saying that's normal. My fear would be that knowing people's obsession with fasted cardio, the big spotlight on things like keto and carnivore and stuff, what I would anticipate is that a lot of people are trying to hack their hack device.
Mm-hmm.
And they want it to say they are in level 1 all the time, the burning fat for energy.
Right. Because it like portrays the idea that that is ideal.
Right. Exactly. And so they're going to be like, well, even though it says that like I need to have carbs for my workout, because it says that there's a screenshot where it says, nice, your body's ready for a workout. Level 4, you are burning mostly carbs. So they're saying like you carved up. We can tell that your body is now working through those carbs. You're ready to go. It wants to teach good habits. Based off of what we hear and see, I just feel like it's not worth it. A, and B, people, I just kind of doubt they're not going to do what they should be doing with it.
It's also just expensive. Like it's very expensive and it takes a lot of time and effort and like dedication. So again, it goes back to that like adherence level.
Right.
Are you going to be able to adhere to that? And like you said, are you going to be able to take this device and take realistic takeaways about understanding your body a little bit better and understanding how your body responds to food or how to fuel it properly? If you do, cool. Love that for you. Pay the money, whatever. But also, again, like we're the lifestyle series. We don't need to be that psycho. Even bodybuilders, like as a competitor myself, coaching competitors, like we don't need to be diving into that.
Really, it's a curious device, right? The more I dive in, they have like this flex score.
I know, I was looking at the flex score too.
Right. And like whether or not your metabolism is flexible. I just feel like for like I went to grad school to learn more about what my body does and like things like that, right? Got my degree. I just don't think that I just don't know who needs to see this, right? And this also goes like I don't know. I think I don't see the point. And that also is something that I feel like with the glucose devices, since that got brought up, and like now it's like super cool to wear one.
Like a constant
The constant
glucose monitor.
Yeah. And like people now who like are not diabetic or at risk for diabetes and stuff like that are wearing them because they want this device to tell them when they should eat their next meal and like things like that. And that's just another thing where I'm like, but why? Like, why do we need, and I say this as a total feedback addict. Okay. Like,
Mhm.
give me an app. Yeah, I'm going to try it probably. I
Same.
love the watches and like things like that. But what's funny is like over time, I think I hit like when I was wearing an Apple Watch and a Whoop and like my bed, I have the sleep number, like Dak Prescott bed one where like he's always like, it tells me I get better sleep. And
Yeah.
like, my bed thinks it measures my HRV. And I'm like, I don't think you do. But do I look at the stats it gives me? Hell yeah. And so I understand the pull to things like this.
Mhm.
I just don't think they actually provide the value they say that they do.
Well,
Routinely.
and like what can happen, and we've seen a lot, like we as in like coaches have seen a lot when clients really, really stress about the small stuff. And I've been there because I was that client that I was like freaked out about the perfect meal breakdown of my macros and that kind of stuff. Whereas it doesn't matter so much in the bigger picture. And so when we kind of get devices like this, as much as it can be, let's say, like a learning device or very beneficial, what does tend to happen is we kind of go full bore, we dive right in, and we get way too obsessive about small things. And now we're left dealing with stress management issues, right?
Right.
And being like, hey, let's take a step back. Let's like, these things are important, sure, but like they're at like the top of the pyramid. Whereas if we're looking at the pyramid of overall wellness, what's at the bottom, right? Like good, like sleep, stress management, nutrients like vitamins, minerals. Oh, but like, which the carnivore diet doesn't hit, like those types of things, right? So it's kind of like now we're having to manage actually stressing the crap out about some insignificant device that maybe you're paying way too much money for, that's telling you some information that is sure a measurement tool, but might not be totally accurate or what you actually need.
Right. Right. Where it's like, it's a distraction. You know what it makes me think of? I think you shared Sarah Bishop. Is her last name Ford now? And I'm thinking of her
It
maiden
is Ford.
name. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just known her for so long that I think of Bishop still.
I know. I think about Bishop too.
So, she had shared a post about like the tapping feet that we talked about in the last one and how it's kind of a distraction from the hard things you're doing. And I totally do that. I actually chew gum while I work out, which is like even that alone can be something
I
where
chewed gum deadlifting yesterday and I was like, this is a bad choice.
did your jaw
Like my
hurt
last
so
set, I was
bad
like,
afterwards?
no, it's because I was breathing. And so I put it like up into my cheek. So then I'm breathing. And I thought in my brain right before my top set, I was like, oh my God, what if I inhale this piece of gum as I'm like deadlifting? And that scared the fuck out of
What
me. So
happened?
I threw it out. But
Random
yeah,
side
and
note
toe
from the
tapping. And
side note. Did you see the video that somebody shared where a person was squatting with a ponytail and it wrapped around the bar like this? And she went to put it, for some reason, she was racking behind her and she like went down and she's like, oh God, oh God. And I was like, wait,
Aww.
that's a concern I need to have. I've never
Now I
thought
have that
about
concern.
this. I've never thought about that. So that blew my mind. But so Sarah shared a post where she was talking about like stopping those habits where you're distracting yourself from the difficulty of your lift and like things like that with like toe tapping or wiggling or like different things. And I feel like that's what some like jumping into these kinds of things can be, or it's like, you know what? It's not the fact that I don't stick to my macros 3 days a week or whatever my plan is 3 days a week. It's because I don't know how flexible my metabolism is. Like, and
I'm
so,
not hacking it.
right. Or, people will pick some very random micronutrient where it's like, do I need to go get a blood test to like measure this? And that's why I'm not losing weight. And I'm like, I mean, you could, and it'd be interesting for you to gather that information. I don't think that's the game changer. And, it's just this thing where it's like, oh, I know. That's
Yeah,
what it is. And like
that's
we've
it.
done that route, right?
The magic pill or whatever.
And I get it. I get it. Like patience sucks. I'm the least patient person in the entire world. And stuff like this, if you want to go buy one, listen, if you're listening and you have used this nifty little thing, I want you to email me at Christina@prophysique.com. And I genuinely want to hear if it was helpful and what your flex score is, because I'm curious about that.
So the reviews that, like, the thing is, when I was looking up Lumen, I was looking up like people's review of it or like blog or whatever of it instead of the actual website. That's what I was interested in, because like that's what I want to know. Because like you said, with the like shiny and new, it's like, ooh, yeah, they're like, wow, like I totally want that. But it's like, no, I don't need a new Apple Watch because I hate Apple Watches anyways, or whatever, or I prefer Garmin. Okay, I feel like we beat a dead horse with Lumen. So what we can actually chat about now is the revitalized Weight Watchers, which is now called Noom, which is
Right.
so Weight Watchers and okay, so Noom is a oh my God, I can't speak. Psychology-based program that operates with the core belief of balance, which I don't even want to talk about for a moment. But in terms of foods, the diet breaks items into 3 categories: green, yellow, and red. So automatically we have a good, really bad like connotation with food, which I'm not all for. So it's very similar to the Weight Watchers, where everything was points, but then they incorporated things that were like free. And so then people would like consume the crap out of like free food and be like, why am I still not losing weight? It's like, well, you can still overeat. Anyways. So now you have like this like good, bad mentality of food. I and I agree with you, because Christina and I were talking about this before we were actually recording, and it's like the revitalized Weight Watchers.
That's
So
what
the
it feels
majority
like.
of your foods should come from green foods, which have low calorie density, which will make you feel fuller on fewer calories. So it's fruits and vegetables, but also whole grain foods, things like quinoa, looks like things that are just protein. So shrimp, white fish, non-fat Greek yogurt, egg whites. So eat the crap out of that. And then what gets me is like yellow foods are foods that have fewer healthy nutrients per serving than green foods, which is funny to me because egg whites has protein in it. It doesn't really have anything else in it. Like, it's just interesting to me. So yellow foods can still be incorporated into your routine, but not as frequently as green foods. A handful of yellow foods are lean meat, like turkey breast, grilled chicken, tuna. Okay. Black beans, chickpeas, avocado, whole grain tortillas, popcorn.
Okay, wait. I just found a thing that on their website, it says half a pound of oatmeal. It says half a pound of oatmeal has 154 calories. So we're talking about 8 ounces of oatmeal has way more than 154 calories. 40 grams of oatmeal provides 154 calories. That's about an ounce and a half, right?
Well, now they're lying.
Right. I'm traveling. So yeah, it's the foods that it's interesting because they're like, I don't disagree with a lot of their approach here.
Absolutely.
Where they're saying, there's like an example of their coaching on here, and the person's like, I slipped up and had a half a donut, and they're like, hey, don't freak out about it. Like, just keep going. You're fine. And like, yeah, that's great. I like it's like, you can still eat chicken curry and donuts, and like, is their tagline or something. And I like that they're balancing that, and they're saying eat half a pound of oatmeal, which like you shouldn't do that. You might have stomachache after. That's a lot.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Distress.
sounds delicious. But like they go into this whole thing about fiber, which is a big one that I talk to clients about. My concern here is that I think it was Sohi who she went and signed up for this to try it out. She went into the app, she put her current weight, she put her current intake, and then said, I just want to maintain weight. And it was like, awesome. You know where you should start? 1,200 calories.
I saw that.
You lose 2 pounds a week. And she was like, wait, I don't want to lose weight. And like went in, double checked that she said it to maintain weight. And it was like, cool, let's lose 1 pound a week. And she's like, what the fuck? And like, so inherently, you know what this is? I've gone on this rant before. It brings up Planet Fitness and their bullshit PR that they used to use all the time, where they would make a commercial saying judgment-free zone while they made fun of bodybuilders. Inherently judgmental, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying we don't judge you, we just judge them. And then they're like, hey, it's all about your psychology, and we just want to learn why you feel like you need to finish your plate all the time. But we're also going to tell you that your goal is wrong, and we think that you should probably lose weight.
Yeah.
And so it's still backhanded in there, right? So it feels kind of like a bait and switch situation there. And it like I don't know, like going through the little things it teaches you about is interesting. It says they use cognitive behavioral therapy.
Like, how does an app do that? Like, how?
Through daily lessons and quizzes is what they got going on here. But you know what I see with this, what I would anticipate. I talk to a lot. So it's a tracking app first and foremost, right? It's doing the same thing that if you can ask MyFitnessPal to give you a macro plan. And like, that's what this is doing. But it has a community. Well, no, MyFitnessPal also has a community. You can go to forums and stuff like that. So like same, right? I mean, I guess like, I don't think people are going to put the time into it. I talked to so many people who are like, I can't track. It takes too much time. I'm not willing to go to MyFitnessPal and log my stuff. Then I just kind of feel like how many people are sticking with the daily quizzes and the macro tracking and stuff. I see why, you know, I would want to sign up for it. Let's see how much it is. I would be curious because I'll do this every now and then. I've signed up for like the RP. Oh, that's another one. Not really a fad diet, but like I have a lot of clients, and like I used to use the RP stuff like for myself. And then I've talked to a lot of people who are like kind of getting away from it because it's like they've gotten more flexible over the years, but it's also kind of hard to stick to. And it's like weird, like how your food works and stuff. But this kind of like reminds me of it almost, because they have foods where like if you eat a protein that is like 90% or more lean, then you don't have to count the fats in it towards your day total. But if you, and there's like these fluctuations and stuff. And I've always just thought that was.
See, I would be like math. Like I'm
like you're making me think too hard. Right.
Well, and like, again, with it takes a lot of time and dedication. And hey, I think changing your lifestyle and changing your habits is going to take a lot of time and dedication. Cool. But I think a lot of it comes down to behavior change. Ooh, I see your eyes. So you just saw something. A lot of it comes down to behavior change. And what we're not really getting from a lot of these things is bringing in awareness of shit, right? It's like, oh, you can eat all the green foods you want. So these people are going to load up on a butt fuck of fiber, possibly. Again, I like the takeaways of this, right? Like, you can eat this and this is great. You should like limit these foods, but they're not really saying, hey, you should limit these fats because they have a higher calorie intake per serving. Like, they're not necessarily teaching those things. It's more like, oh, that's red, right? Same with Weight Watchers. Ooh, that's like 7 points. I don't know about that.
I don't
Right.
like it.
And I've looked up time and time again, trying to find out how Weight Watchers determines their point system. Can't find it. No idea how. Right. So it's really not teaching you about food. But like my dad was on Weight Watchers when he was younger, and it really helped him understand just like portions and foods and types of food. So again, there's lots of fantastic like takeaways from these things, but we always want to take things with a grain of salt. And a lot of these diets promote, like this one, it's like based on balance and always finding this balance, but then it gives stipulations around restrictive plans, right? Which is like your thing of the slap in the face, like, oh, we don't judge these people, but we judge those, right? It's kind of like, okay, what's really happening here?
Right.
What was your eyes opening?
I did their macro calculator.
Sweet. 1,200 calories.
Oh no, it's the opposite. This is why I hate calculators. I hate calculators. Okay. I weigh 141 pounds. I'm 5'7". I'm a woman who works out 4 to 5 times per week. It recommended 2,784 calories.
Wait, what's your goal?
Oh, I put maintenance, but before I put a fat loss of 0.5 pound per week, and it said 2,500. So then I was curious to see what this would say if I put maintenance. So it said 2,784 calories per day, but it is recommending, with the information I gave it, my weight, that I'm a woman and I want to just maintain, it recommended that I eat 244 grams of protein every day of my life, and that I have 77 grams of fat and 278 grams of carb. Why do I need so much protein?
That's a lot of protein.
Oh,
that would make you not poop.
Is 260,
no
6'5", and he doesn't eat that much protein.
God damn.
Why do I need so much?
Sometimes I see people's meal plans that they come to me on, and I'm like, yo, why are you eating that?
Right. And this is my concern with things like that.
That's a lot of protein shakes for you.
Oh my God. Can you imagine all day long? And, there's that's the concern with apps and all of this AI like generated stuff and things like that too, is that I think, so what it's doing, it shows you the little bar on the bottom, right? Where it says 35% protein, 25% fats, and 40% carbs. So it's trying to heavily weight the carbs. But at a certain point, there is marginal utility for the increasing intake of protein, which means that if we are increasing calories, we don't just keep increasing protein necessarily, because it's difficult to get in.
Yeah.
And so like, then you see a calculator like this, and then somebody who doesn't have the experience that we do with it is like, all right, that's what I got to do. And then maybe they've never tracked before. And maybe there's somebody who's eating 1,500 calories every day, right? And then they start eating 2,800 calories a day and 244 grams of protein.
Their weight's going to skyrocket in poop and body fat.
Terrible. You're going to feel terrible. And not all of the apps are this way, right? Like, I think I heard somebody else, I forget what the name of the app was, but they put information in there too. And like their weight moved down when they were supposed to be maintaining. And so like the following week, it increased their calories by like 2,000 or something. And so like, that's just going to be the hit or miss when you're letting a computer do it. And I think, again, like with all of these, right? Like how I tried to start it off is that, like, if they help you, that's wonderful. These all have, they all have the same motivation of helping you get where you want to be. They have slightly different ways of getting you there. I think the Lumen's the most interesting. In that, like, somebody went and made that device and stuff. But I just don't. I
feel like we've saved the best for last, though.
Oh, do we have another one? I forgot.
It's unless you are morbidly obese or a diabetic.
I forgot. Yeah.
This is something that's not going to help you. Just saying.
Well, it could help you. it'll like, you'll lose weight. So she's
It's true.
talking about Ozempic
We
and
are going to talk about Ozempic.
Wegovy. Is that the other name?
Wegovy, semaglutide. It's all the
Right.
same.
So the weight loss shots, right?
Yeah.
Talk about price prohibitive, right? Because if you are not a diabetic who actually needs it to manage your condition and you don't get approval for it, you're paying cash. And now I think I read that they're having issues with shortages and stuff like that, right?
They are. It's because people who do not need it are utilizing it. And don't get me wrong, I feel like there are like medical interventions that need to happen for individuals. So like if you are that individual and your doctor and you've had tests and etc., if you are requiring a medical intervention, okay, this is yes. Please don't have a heart attack or anything like that. But like truly now, weight loss shots have become this new thing where celebrities are absolutely using them and lying about it. I'm sure that like influencers are absolutely using it. And now everyday people are choosing to use a shot that will literally change your hunger signals to you never wanting food or feel sick, nausea, vomit, GI distress, diarrhea, etc. when you actually do eat food, when you are taking the shots.
I saw one side effect where they were talking about like the Ozempic butt. Have you seen that?
No,
because it causes you to lose weight at like light speed. And so then they're like, what do I do about the fact that now I have like saggy skin and things? And so, like Jess said, if you need this, then yeah, go for it. Right. Both of my grandparents on my mom's side. So my mom's side of the family, a lot of people struggle with their weight and stuff like that to the point of being like very overweight. And my grandmother and my grandfather each had different forms of weight loss surgery where my grandfather had the bariatric where they like make your stomach smaller. And then my grandmother had the lap band where they put like a rubber band around your stomach so that like both the goal with both is that you will hit your feeling of fullness sooner and you're supposed to learn to honor that. Well, the problem is that if you just go and do something like that, or you use these shots, and I've coached clients that have had both of those surgeries too, and then needed help because, you know, my grandmother had to have her lap band replaced like 3 times. And my grandfather completely screwed his stomach. You can stretch it back out. And then like my grandmother couldn't eat salads because with the band, it couldn't digest or something. And she would just throw it up. And then I had a client actually who had it when she was about 22. She got the lap band surgery and had a similar experience where then you just can't digest certain foods that have to hang out longer. Yeah. So then it limited those options. And my issue with those and my issue with the shots is that they're a quick fix. And they don't, maybe sometimes doctors are doing what they're supposed to with it, right? They don't come paired with education or cognitive-based therapeutic models. They don't come with also, here's how you should track this stuff or how you should make sure that you're taking care of your body, go on this exercise plan and like things like that. So what a lot of people are realizing is you get to the end of like, okay, I don't want to pay out of pocket for these shots anymore. I've lost all this weight. Done. I'm going to stop taking them. And then your body goes back to not being in this place where it didn't need them and stuff. And they put the weight back on.
Yeah. And like when you lose weight at such a rapid scale, as many people do when they do these weight loss shots, what actually happens is they also lose a lot of muscle mass. Like they primarily lose shit tons of muscle mass. And it's because your body is just like, well, I guess I don't need this anymore. And goes into this giant like loss, which is also why we see, or you can see like saggier skin, or like just your skin elasticity isn't there because you simply don't have the muscle mass anymore to support it. And so you're totally right. What happens is when you go off of these shots, there's no intervention or help or support or education or guidance surrounding, hey, this is not like this is a band-aid, but this is a like long-term kind of like, we have to progress up to this. What happens is now you actually have even possibly higher body fat when you're done these shots because you have lost the muscle mass. Right. The percentage of body fat, excuse me. You may end up having a higher body fat percentage because you've lost a ton of muscle, but now your hunger signals are in the tank. You don't understand how to fuel yourself properly. You end up over consuming because you don't know how to, and your hunger signals and like hormones internally are not set up anymore. And so you actually end up putting on more body fat. And now you have more body fat, which fat cells don't disappear. They are there forever. So now you've like way past your body's set point, and you no longer have muscle mass. And so now you're actually at a way greater health risk when you finish these shots and haven't learned anything in the meantime. And hey, if you learn things about this and it's fine, you're good after, that's again, cool. And you require medical intervention, again, fine. But like, it's really important to understand these things because it can really put you at such a huge health risk. I know one of my close family members had weight loss shots like years and years and years ago, and about 10 years ago. Since then, she has needed multiple surgeries on various parts of her body, like her joints, because her body doesn't have any more muscle mass to support. So she has bad feet. She's had multiple foot surgeries. She has bad knees. She like somehow tore a rotator cuff in her shoulder because she just doesn't have the ligaments there to like help and support her body. She developed, or she probably had, oh my gosh,
scoliosis.
Thank you. Scoliosis before, but now because she didn't have any muscle, like she lost all of her muscle mass, it like just went to a bad place where she actually had to get a metal rod in her spine.
Yeah.
So she can no longer bend her spine, right? Like, and so it's just, again, it's a really important consideration when we're looking at some of these bad diets. Like, what is your life going to look like 5, 10, 15 years down the road after this? And also emotionally, like resulting to some of these things. I know that there are so many people out there that are so desperate to lose weight, but resulting, especially to something like Ozempic, can really put you in a really bad spot.
Right. So I'm reading this study that was done, and, they say in here, so it says an early study of 2,000 obese adults who were using it. After 68 weeks, a little over a year, well, a lot over a year, half of the participants had lost 15%, nearly a third lost 20%. And then they're like participants who are incorporated only the lifestyle changes and got the placebo, had lost 2.4%. But the end of the study shows that most of the people gained the weight back by, if they followed them further, that once they stopped the once weekly shots, it came back. And that's the concern, right? I would be curious to see, I wish they had a subset in this of, did they put some of the people through the shots and have everything else go on and things like that. And they said in here, like there was an exclusion of people that actually had type 2 diabetes, and majority of the people who did the participation were, it was almost all women, and it was almost white women. And so they were like, it's not the most broadly based. It had 2,000 people, but it was like not a huge selection of different people for it. But it even in their stuff, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, if you stop it, you're probably gonna gain weight. And like, what concerns me there is that this is just a different kind of way to keep a customer, right? Where you buy the lumen and then you have the subscription with stuff, or, you get the shots, but then if you stop them, and so there's just other ways. And even with coaching, right? I fully recognize the fact that we are a luxury service, and like, we are very lucky that there are people that we can have this career for. And that's why with like, I won't put people through extreme things, because then you're going to have to come back to fix it. And I'd rather set up habits that you can leave. I love nothing more than getting to fill out like an update on our system and be like, they're running off into the sunset. They're ready to go. They know what they're doing. We met our needs.
They graduate.
She doesn't need me anymore. Yeah. That's wonderful. And like, that's the ultimate goal with stuff. And if these things, there's a reason why there's stuff called the basics, and there's reason why there's things called fads. And it's because, the basics become basics because they stick around, because they work and people keep doing them. And then fads are called fads because they leave, they fade, they go away. They come in hot and heavy and they leave. Unless they're Janko jeans, which I don't know if you saw, their back.
Hey, it's like 1990 fashion all over the place.
It's like Clueless all over again.
Yeah.
But I saw a woman who was like, I'm going to put everything that I carry in my diaper bag in the back pocket of my Janko jeans. She only used one pocket: diapers, wipes, snacks, changing pad.
I love that
outfit for the baby. And I couldn't even tell when she started the video. I was like, all right, I don't know why we're wearing these again. And then she started pulling all the stuff out of them. And I was like, holy shit, that's a decent
That's
idea.
impressive. I like it.
Right. So, that's why, we don't like to see people have to go through unnecessary heartbreak. And that's really what I think as lifestyle coaches, we get people coming to us with a decent dose of it. And like, that's my concern when you were talking about like, it causes all this physical stuff with the muscle loss and the changes to your body and like things like that. Yeah. And like, that 100% sucks and we should avoid it. But like, the other thing that I think about is what that feeling of failure is like when you try something and then after, a month, maybe even 6 months or something like that, it doesn't work. Because it's too restrictive or whatever. And then that like, God, I fucking suck at this. Why can't I do it? Like, I've felt that way where it's like, why can't you just do the one thing and like like have it work, and be frustrated? And that really sucks because that influences other decisions made and how you treat yourself and things like that. And so that's why I don't like foods being called red light foods, and why, people are just going to want to see fat burning because it doesn't clearly explain the fact that doesn't mean fat loss and like all of that different stuff. And I don't know, maybe it's a pipe dream to have everybody understand these things, but like, that's where I'm at. That's why I get
we're putting in our part. That's all we can do.
Right. Yeah. Is we get to put the information out there. And that's why it's fun to get to do what we do, and why, I'm clearly long-winded, and clients get like 7-minute check-in videos. And then I have to
easy.
Talking too much.
I know. I always go through everything.
Right.
I agree. But that's also why I love the podcast, because we can go into these like topics in depth and we can talk about them, because they aren't, and we've said this tons of times before, it's not black and white. It's absolutely gray. And if it's black and white, it's absolutely selling you something. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we've talked about the highlights. Yeah. There are lots of other ones, but again, it's just kind of like, hey, is this going to serve you now? Is this going to serve you in the future? you know, how does it work in your life? Is it going to make you feel like a failure? Right. I don't know.
I'm team bro meals with cookies afterwards, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the life.
I
But
like
after trying all of these and being that person who felt like I couldn't stick to anything, it really is just kind of like managing the basics. It's just the easiest to get comfy in and be okay with stuff. You know, it doesn't have to be, on one hand, I want to say it doesn't have to be that hard, but that can be hard. It doesn't have to require that much thought, right? Where we have to go reinvent our metabolism and hack it. Work
right.
with it. Listen, it's going to be harder to work with it and learn it and, you know, optimize and like things like that. But it'll serve you better, I think, mentally and physically in the long run.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Cool, friend. Well, oh, I'm still going to be on next week's. Oh no, we figured it out. I was going to tell you guys I wasn't going to be here when I go to Mexico, but we're just going to record early.
Yeah, you're recording on Monday when I'm not going to be here.
Right. Yes. So, same old, same old. If you have a fun topic, please share it with us so that we can dive into it. And if you listen to it on like a normal podcast, I don't know, if we have the YouTube channel, and you should hop over there and leave some comments there because that's always fun. And I pop in and talk back and forth with people. I don't see as many like reviews. Oh, that's the other thing, right? So I check those to try and see if I can reply with people. And if you listen to the lifestyle or the prep series, like if you can hop over there and just say hi, that would be very helpful. And then that way we can kind of engage that way too. So any topic ideas, there's like the different ways of like the Instagram page, the YouTube, and wherever you're listening, you can drop reviews there with stuff. But we're always open because like we said, like we're here to have that, to put information out that you want to know more about and answer questions and be as helpful as we can possibly be. So the more that we have that dialogue and like back and forth with what is serving you, the better we can do as coaches.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
All right, friends. Talk to you soon, Jess.
Okay, bye.
Bye.